Hi guys, so in this video I wanted to talk about a couple of problems in this tropical paludarium, as well as about sort of the general overview of this setup. I'm usually doing this update type of videos about once a month, also for myself, to just to keep track of how this paludarium is developing, what is changing, and what are the issues to deal with. So there are basically two problems that we currently have with this system, and I'll probably start with the most serious one. And recently I've started noticing that the glass, like this frontal glass, is starting to crack. So there are this kind of cracks. I'll try to zoom in and I'll try to make it noticeable for you. Previously I only had one, this one. Both of them are inside, and now I have a second one, which is looking definitely worse than this one, because this is sort of just well, it's not a proper crack, or it's not a proper hole in the glass, but this one is definitely is, and it's not looking very well. I have a third one developing in here. This is a bit concerning because they are inside, so there's nothing I can do. Even if I'll empty the tank and I'll silicone them, they might still sort of expand to outside, which is a bit of a challenge for me. I'm not entirely sure what should I do. Should I leave it like this and just take the risk, or should I try to fix it? Or I have no idea, because I've never encountered this sort of things. I've checked all other glasses except the back panel. Obviously I cannot see what's happening in the back, but side panels are all okay. And the problem with this glass is that it is from an older tank, and maybe not, it's not necessarily an old glass, but it's a lower quality glass, I would say. Because the bottom, I have a second bottom here, and it's a new glass. It's a tempered glass. I bought it when I was building this paludarium, so the bottom is safe, but this glass here, this front panel, is giving me some concerns, and I'm not entirely sure what to do with those cracks, and they are clearly expanding. There's no leakage at this point. Nothing is urgent, but they're not looking good, and this one developed over the past couple of weeks, or maybe past 1 month, but this one has been here for probably last 2 or 3 months. And the second issue that affected the system recently was an invasion of mealybugs. Mealybugs are terrestrial plant parasites, and I was previously not aware about such a thing, and I guess I have ignored their presence for quite a while, and they've basically eaten through all of the Japanese and Brazilian pennywort, which I had growing in these areas here. If you have been following my channel before, you probably remember that much of this surface, this upper part of the moss wall, was covered, especially like here. I have a huge clump, huge wall of Hydrocotyle tripartita, Japanese pennywort, and I had quite a lot of Brazilian pennywort, Hydrocotyle leucocephala, growing in here, and they've been growing here for almost a year, and they've been really lush. Unfortunately, mealybugs have eaten most of them. They've literally just devastated, destroyed all of this pennywort. And they've started feeding on my mangroves. These are red mangroves, and they've been growing really well until this invasion, proliferation of mealybugs. You can see all of these holes here. I've removed a lot of the leaves which have been particularly affected by this thing, and I've been trying to deal with them ever since, but it's really difficult because I cannot use any chemicals because of the fish. So I just have to remove them manually, just using the cotton buds and things like that to wipe them off the leaves, to remove them. Well, it was absolutely impossible to remove them from Brazilian pennywort because it has these hundreds of tiny little leaves. So unfortunately all of the pennywort is gone. Which is both good and bad because now I can see the moss wall, and moss wall is now going back to life. Previously, when it was covered by pennywort, well, moss was there, but it wasn't growing because it didn't get any access to light. But now it gets all the light, so it's lush and soft and looking good. Well, in here I still have this hole because that's where all the pennywort was growing before, and it had a massive system of roots in here, and I had to remove all of this. But yeah, I would probably need some time for this moss to grow back. Well, this piece of mangrove has been the worst affected. You can see all these holes on the leaves in here and over there. This is all that's been eaten by mealybugs. And this one still has some mealybugs around, and I still need to remove them constantly. But, well, it's doing better now. Well, talking about good things, you can see this massive Echinodorus argentinensis in here. It's been growing really well. Mealybugs don't like it, which is a great thing. Also, they actually don't like any sort of mosses. Either the aquatic mosses, these are aquatic mosses. There are some terrestrial sphagnum moss, well, a variety of sphagnum moss growing in here. But the Echinodorus has been prospering. You can see it's flowering. These are older flowers. These are newer ones, and there's more flowers in here. So it's been just going crazy, going nuts. The leaves look healthy. Yeah, well, this is one of the newer leaves, and it looks healthy. Older leaves, obviously. Let me show one of the older leaves. This is an older leaf. It gets some brown edges and things like that, but that's all right because this leaf is probably like 3 months old or even older than that. Over there I had some bromeliads. I removed them because they didn't get any light, to be honest, and the fern, because I removed bromeliads, the fern started to grow much better. Well, I also have here some small areca palm or parlor palm. And it's doing all right, I would say. It doesn't get enough light. Well, in terms of Echinodorus, my idea was to have sort of a wall of Echinodorus growing in this side of Paludarium. But there's just one that grows really well, another one which is in here, just starting to grow, and the third one which is growing is somewhere here. The rest of them, they just don't break the water surface, and that's one of the things I've noticed growing this immersed Echinodorus species, is that only some of them actually manage to break the water surface and grow immersed, while a lot of them are actually still staying underwater and growing like proper Amazon swords, like this one here, quite small because it doesn't get light. It takes them forever to break the water surface, or they will never do that. So, talking about aquatic plants, actually I've had some success with red tiger nymphaea or red tiger water lotus, whatever you want to call it. I don't know which species is it, but it's definitely a nymphaea species. So the idea, because you can see I have here very low water level, it's less than 20 centimeters, it's less than a foot high. The idea was to ensure that all the new leaves that hit the surface, they don't change the color, because initially what happened before is that as soon as a leaf gets to the surface, it will no longer have any pattern, it will no longer have any markings, it will be just plain green, like for example this Ludwigia here, the same color. And I wanted them to be the same color and the same pattern as they are underwater, like this beautiful reddish with lots of markings and with this dark, not necessarily red, but brownish color. I apologize for reflection. And yes, it has taken me quite a lot of struggle. I had to remove all the new leaves to ensure that, for example, these two are new leaves and they have patterns, and they're likely to be just like the rest of these leaves, dark and beautiful. This is what I wanted to achieve, and that seems to work fine now. There's also some cryptocarines growing in the midst of water lilies, some dwarf sage growing here, not doing very well but surviving. Lots of these are Bacopa caroliniana, and they're also here. They are growing really well. Well, the other change that you can probably notice with the system is that I had to lower water level. Previously, my water was at about this high. Now I lower it down, and I will probably lower it a bit more because of these cracks. I'm not sure whether lower water level will probably put less pressure on the glass and less likely to accelerate this cracking situation. So I've lowered the water level. It didn't have any negative effect on plants or fish, and actually I think plants such as Echinodorus, they enjoy lower water levels. So yeah, the water is much lower than it used to be. You can see a lot of moss now. The moss wall is functioning well. There's lots of, well, it's a drip wall, so the water is supposed to drip from the pipe inside of that wall. And it is dripping. Obviously, most of the dripping is happening here because the pump is only strong enough to push water probably until here, and there's less drops coming out in this area, but that's absolutely fine because there's not so much moss in there. Well, when it comes to the population, there were no changes. I still have my old group of cardinal tetras. You can see them in the back. They are really old fish. Some of them are 3 years old, some of them are even older. I'm losing occasionally some of them, which is normal, and it's just the way cardinals live. They rarely live longer than 2 or 3 years. I also have here a collection of pencil fish, Nanostomus, and you can see Nanostomus marginatus here. There are also Nanostomus equus and Nanostomus beckfordi. They mostly hide in the back. Oh, you can see Nanostomus equus in here somewhere deep inside. 7 species of corridors are still here. Almost impossible to see any of them because they would hide during the day and they would come out once the lights are off. Yeah, also some Pristella tetras you can see in the back, and black skirt tetras. So there's been no significant changes or no changes at all when it comes to population, but plant life is obviously changing. Some plants are prospering, others unfortunately were gone, like all this beautiful pennywort which I had in here. And until I completely decimate, eradicate the population of mealybugs here, which probably still there, until I achieve that, I'm not planning to add any sort of a creeping stem plants to the moss wall, because it is likely that mealybugs will get back on them and destroy them, as is the case with, as was the case with pennywort. So basically that's what it is for now. There's two potentially, one is a negative development that I've lost all the pennyworts, and one potentially concerning development with this crack in here. Again, unfortunately the back panel of this Paludarium is also made of the same glass from the same old fish tank, and I have no idea what's happening there in the back because I absolutely have no access there. I can only guess. Well, I can't even guess. I don't know what's happening there. So there might be similar cracks there in the back, but I have no clue. So Please leave any comments, any suggestions, if you have any ideas as to why the glass is cracking that way, and whether I should be concerned about it, and whether I should do something about it, or I should just sit and wait until it develops further and until it cracks and starts leaking, which will create wonderful content for YouTube. So don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you soon in further videos.